Hello everyone, so this is just a new video to explain how to revive your OpenClaw with Chinese AI models. So as you know, Claude has currently banned all third-party tools from using their subscription. It's kind of old news now, but essentially we had to find a solution because we use OpenClaw everywhere in our business, and we also implement OpenClaw agents in businesses. So what we have done is we basically have done some research, and we figured out that we can use directly some Chinese AI models in order to reduce the costs instead of using the Claude API. So what we have built here is essentially a whole step-by-step guide that goes through the entire process of how to set this up. So here, for example, you might be wondering, why would you use a Chinese AI model instead of Claude, ChatGPT, or any other Western model that's out there? Well, it's just very simple. It's because of the cost. So in literally 3 days, we spent 1.2k pounds, which is like $1,500, with all of our agents combined. This is not something that's sustainable for businesses. So we had to find a different solution. Now, before we go into the details on what are the different Chinese models that we'll be using, we need to have an understanding of how do AI agents actually work. So you have OpenClaw, which is essentially the wrapper that turns a standard AI model into a fully functional agent. So the agent will be able to not only think, but also perform actions such as create a landing page, analyze data, create a personalized report, set up a reminder, change something on your project management board, review your finances, send out an invoice, reply to an email, browse the web, fill in a form, take a screenshot of your computer, etc. So that's essentially what OpenClaw allows you to do. Every single conversation starts from zero if you use something like Claude. So it won't have that persistent memory. Now you can use something like OpenClaw and Hermes in order to fix that. So OpenClaw basically gives you the brain, the hand, the eyes, the calendar, the filing cabinet, everything it needs, and it can create extra hands, extra eyes, extra ears if it needs to in order to accomplish what you want it to accomplish. So there's two options that you can go, right? Is or use the Western models like Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, which are all expensive because you're spending, they're just much more expensive. Or you can use the Chinese models like these two. So Xiaomu, Mimo, and Z.ai, the GLM 5.1. Essentially here, OpenClaw, which uses the same tools, the same memory, the same actions, the same delivery method. The only thing that's going to change is the model. So you're able to just change it with different models. So people who are using Claude only, like the Claude app, they are stuck with Claude. They cannot just go to ChatGPT and use ChatGPT. So when it comes a point in time when a new model will come out that might outperform these main models that are out currently, the business owner or the person who has been using Claude their whole life, they're going to have an issue. They're going to be locked in with that model. And that's essentially what you would want to mitigate. You want to have the possibility to connect to any type of AI model that you want, and essentially in the long term to be able to have your own local model that runs locally in order to cut costs. So OpenClaw can run Claude, GPT, Gemini, whatever new model you want, even Chinese models. So the body stays exactly the same, and that's the entire point of this agent architecture, which is for the agent to be model agnostic. And the intelligence layer is completely pluggable. So this is basically a representation of how that would look like. So the recommendation is to use Chinese AI models. So that's the current recommendation. If you do use OpenClaw on a daily basis, if you are spending a lot in API credits, and if you were someone who used to use the subscription. Now, of course, you can use something like ChatGPT. You can also do channel models, which basically means depending on the channel that you're communicating in, it will use a certain model. And that's essentially how you optimize your token usage. So here we have the two Chinese models that I recommend. You have Xiaomi, and then you can directly access it here. I'm not going to go too much detail on what they are, but essentially, they perform as good as Opus 4.6. And then you also have Z.ai, which offers the GLM family of models. So GLM 5 and GLM 5.1 are honestly, like, I'm very impressed by them. They're nearly as good as Claude Opus 4.6, as you can see on the benchmarks. So they rank right below Claude Opus 4.6. So that's pretty interesting. If we go more in detail in it, we can see that Claude Opus 4.6 has a score of 81.5, and one of the Mimo versions, they have a score of 81.2. So it's obviously, this depends on like, they do many different tests for different tasks like research, calculations, general knowledge, and then they will receive a specific score, and depending on the task, they'll be ranking. But Mimo has generally been in the top 3. Same for Z.ai. So here just gives more information about all of that. If you do want to have access to this document, you can find it in the description. And then also, if you are a business owner and you feel behind in AI, and if you want to have a consultant like me analyze your whole business, do an audit of your business, and then directly implement agents within your business to solve the current problems that you have, or to make it more efficient, or to go to the next level with your business, then yeah, also there will be a link in the description where you can fill in a form and get a free audit of your business, and then we'll have a call and we'll go much more in detail. So all of the links for that are in the description, including this SOP, which means a step-by-step guide. So yeah, we just go more in detail into all of the analytics, so you'll be able to read this if you are interested. Now, to be honest with you, it's not that important, only if you are like a nerd and you want to understand this. Then obviously we have the elephant in the room, right? So just quick disclaimer, like, obviously we're not stupid here. Like, we know that, okay, these Chinese models, they have found a way on how to copy the Western AI models, right? So essentially how I view it is this Chinese, like the company in China, and obviously I don't know, China, don't come for me, I don't know, I'm just speculating here, but what I'm assuming is that these China models, they have been trained on the same information, and yeah, that essentially they are just making it cheaper to attract that Western audience. And that they're probably going to use your data to train their own models, and you just have to be okay with that. If you have to look at what you're getting for it by giving your data, in my opinion, for me that's a good exchange. But for other people, they wouldn't want to go down this road. So I just wanted to put this disclaimer in case anyone was wondering, like, okay, well, if I use a Chinese AI model for my company, wouldn't I just be giving my information to China? And essentially the reply is yes. But to be honest, if you use Claude or if you use any other model, your data is also being used. And we're just in a point in time where, yes, data is the most valuable asset to have, but it's also being collected left and right that you don't even know. Like, whenever you enter a store, for example, there's cameras watching you. That data is being analyzed to understand how you think, how you walk, and to create a customer profile. So no matter what you do, your data is going to be used in some sort of way. Then we also go through the whole step-by-step guide. So here I essentially show exactly how to set this up and how to connect it to your OpenClaw. I also explain basically how to create a multi-agent layer with OpenClaw. So a lot of people do not know this, but essentially, if you want to have different OpenClaw agents, depending on what you want to create, what kind of task you want to do, these agents need to live on a different port number. And that's what I explain here on how to do it and how to configure each for to use different models. Then you have the VPS setup, so how to set up a virtual private server. We also have a full step-by-step guide here and how to connect your computer to Tailscale, for example, for security. Then we have the mission control. So the mission control, for anyone who doesn't know, is very similar to like Paperclip, but essentially, yeah, it's just to have a visual representation of your agents and to make it feel more real. So I can go ahead here and I can directly click on a specific agent and directly speak with that agent instead of, speaking with it in Telegram or in Slack. So it just makes it more interactive, probably easier for the team to use as well. It also explains what each agent is for, their responsibilities, and then as well you can create easily new agent profiles. So that's a huge benefit to have. Then we also go through the different types of use cases that we currently use in our business and that we have implemented into other businesses. This is super valuable to read through because essentially what you're reading here is basically the learning curve that we had to go through for the last 4 months. So just by reading all of this, you will already have that 4-month advantage above everyone else. And then of course, we do offer a done-for-you program, which I already talked about, and you can directly apply by clicking on this link. When you click on this link, essentially, we give us 7 days and we will install a fully autonomous AI agent into your business. And we have a guarantee, which is if it doesn't save you 50K a year in payroll, then you don't pay at all. So we would refund that money. And then if you fill in this form, you get a free AI return on investment where basically everything is mapped out, gives you a good idea on what you can currently implement and what you should be implementing. And then you can schedule a call with me directly, which is a consultation call. And we can go through the different agents, map out your whole business, and explain the next steps. So yeah, if you want to have access to this document, then it's in the description. If this video was valuable at all, subscribe, put a like, put a comment, and also feel free to ask any sort of questions you have in the comments, and I will directly reply to you. So yeah, have a nice day, everyone, and I see you in the next video.